This is the Competitor Talk with host Kyle Dangler, presented by Loud Creative Works. Today we're going to have guest Nolan Watson of the Wilmington Blue Rocks. That's affiliated with the Kansas City Royals organization. He was a first-round pick of the Royals back in 2015. He's a starting pitcher for them, so we're going to give him a call right now.
Hello?
Hello?
What's going on, brother?
Nothing much. How about you?
Not a whole lot.
All right. So we're just on the podcast right now. I just told everyone a little bit about you, and we're just going to get going.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Sounds good. So I just told them you were a first-round pick of the Royals back in 2015. So just take us through that process. I know you came right out of high school, so what was kind of your mindset? I know you were deciding between there and, I believe, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
So what drew you to kind of go into the Royals? Was it the money? Was it the first-round pick? What kind of drew you there?
It was a little bit of both. Obviously, for me, it was enough money for me to make the decision, and obviously the fact that I was a first-round pick, and between the money and just knowing that you're that high of a pick, it's something hard to turn down.
Definitely.
That opportunity is a little hard to come by, with being in the system and just knowing that they appreciate you that much to draft you that early. It's just something that you can't exactly turn down. I feel like at least I thought about, in my opinion.
Definitely.
You go to college, you can get hurt, or you can have a bad fall, and you might never be seen the same way again in your coach's eyes, and
Definitely.
you may never get the same opportunity again to play. So, just for me, obviously you could get hurt. So, for me, I just thought, it's kind of hard to turn down that opportunity.
Definitely. And I'm sure being a first-round pick, at that point you're not going to go too much higher after, going to college for 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you started off in 2015. Right now you're on the 7-day DL. What's going on there? Just tell us a little bit.
My first outing, I had a little blowout. I needed Tommy John after a little injury that I had. Obviously, it was pretty devastating. I sat on the couch in the locker room after the incident and talked to my dad and just sat there and cried. Thought that it was the end of the world for me, but shortly after, I just sat there and recognized, this isn't the end of the road for me. I can come back better.
Definitely.
I'll come back stronger and this and that. But, yeah, I'm 9 weeks into my rehab process.
So are you looking to get back probably, I'm assuming, for next February for spring training? Is that kind of your target?
Yeah, that's definitely my target, and inside my head. But there could be a setback and whatnot.
Yeah.
But right now, as far as I'm concerned, I could be back by May. At the latest. But yeah, just God willing, I have no setbacks, and I should be good to go.
Definitely.
Maybe not by opening day at an affiliate, but should be good to go by April or May.
So you had this.
I'm not worried about that right now. I'm just worried about getting back stronger.
Definitely. So
everything I can do each and every single day to better my opportunities.
Definitely. So you had the surgery. So you had the surgery then, I'm assuming, already.
Mhm.
All right, and so when can you did they give you a program, the Royals, kind of when you could start throwing? Have you picked up a ball since? Have you just been more doing, physical therapy on your arm? What's going on there?
Yeah, and the therapy is more, I would say right now, has more to do with the program that Dr. Kremchek gave me, and it's because that's what I had the surgery with.
Okay.
And I think his program has me playing catch at 20 weeks. So
she had another about 11 weeks.
Just short of 3 months.
So are you still with the team, or are you kind of just home resting, trying to get physical therapy, or?
No, I'm here with the Royals. Oddly enough, my two roommates had surgery like 2.5 weeks before me. One of them did, and then the other one had it like 5 weeks after I did.
Right.
So the three of us are just here.
All bed resting?
Seems weird. Yeah, no, we're not bed rested. We're here. We're just here. Common goals.
Yeah,
to be honest, just get healthy. And
get that's got to be nice having two people who you can go along the journey with, kind of to get back where you want to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So would you say it was anything specific that led to the Tommy John? I mean, I know just looking at your your innings limit definitely went up, I would say, in 2018 to 125. Looking back on like 84, you've kind of been. Do you think it's been the innings that put that stress on your arm, or is it just more of a freak injury?
Yeah, I would probably say it's just bad luck. I mean, you see some guys like that are the number one starters for an MLB team. They can put up almost 200 innings a year.
Yeah.
I just think it was bad luck for me. Might have more to do with my delivery than anything.
That puts stress on your arm?
Yeah. So that's something I definitely need to look at when it comes time to throw again, is just how can I refine my delivery and try to avoid an injury in the best case scenario. So
definitely. Now I know
I don't think it's had anything to do with the innings, because I definitely didn't get to a point where many people get throughout a year. So
yeah, definitely. So I know right now you can't throw yet, but I know when you start picking up the ball again, I think you throw a pretty hard fastball. I don't know if you throw. I'm assuming you throw probably a curveball, changeup. Or when you get back to throwing, and next season, are you going to be more cautious of throwing certain pitches, or are you going to try to just get right back into it? Like the curveball. Are you going to be more hesitant to throw that, or?
No, not really. I mean, if you do it the right way, throwing any pitch doesn't really put more stress on your arm than any other one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what puts the most stress on your arm, to be completely honest, is the fastball, because that's what's putting most stress on your UCL, is just that grip and just letting your arm lay back that much. So don't throwing a curveball like coaches think, and that's not putting any more stress on your arm than throwing a fastball. Just because to be honest, what causes the most stress is your arm laying back in that position, and the way you get that valgus stress, is they call it, is by letting that thing lay back as much as it does.
Okay.
Even on a fastball. So
definitely. So you said you were talking a little bit before about refining your delivery. Is there anything? Is you just going to try to refine it so put less stress on your arm, or do you have any certain like keys that you're looking at right now, kind of like film or anything that you should probably try to?
Yeah, my arm circle from the time that I take my hand out of the glove to when my foot strike, which means my foot when it hits the ground, it's just too long.
Okay.
I sit there and look at video. My hand needs to be up and ready to go, towards the glove.
So it's taking too long to get to your starting point.
My arm circle's just too long, and I've compared it to the time recently to when I've been feeling pain and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And then to high school, and there's a pretty big delay now. And I mean, that's what a lot of doctors have said about people that needed TJ. Because I was worried about, because I had a shoulder problem last year.
Okay.
So it's been a main focus of mine to get it fixed. I just never did get it fixed. But now that I'm going to have however many months to
whole off season
put this thing in slow motion, I think it's going to be a lot easier for me to fix.
Definitely. I know Lucas Giolito, I don't know if you've seen film on him. I know he's refined his delivery to make it shorter. Have you been looking at any specific pitcher's film, or have you seen anything about him? Or
yeah, I mean, I it I've seen his and what the kind of transformation that he's gone through recently
Definitely.
has been awesome. And that's exactly what I kind of want to do.
That's what you're kind of envisioning right now?
I mean, if you sit there and watch his film, and his arm used to be really long and go behind his back and everything, and now he's just short as a point.
Now you see the improvement he's had.
Yeah, exactly. His arm is on time now, and he's just very consistent with his delivery. And that's where I want to get to. And also, it lessens the chance of you getting hurt.
Yeah. Less stress probably on your arm, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yep.
So when you start next year, do you know where you're going to are you going to start back where you are now? Or with the A advanced? Or
I can't even answer that question. I wish I could. But, I mean, the team's got their own plans.
Yeah.
I mean, there's places I want to go, but, I can't sit here and tell you I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there. So
right.
I really
kind of just
idea.
Wait and see.
Yep.
Now, probably, I'm assuming, more probably when you go spring training, you'll find out kind of after, then you'll know where you're going?
Yeah, I might have a better feeling of where I'll go then. But, I mean, as far as right now goes, I really do not have any idea.
Definitely.
Teams got their own plans, and where I want to go doesn't have much to do with what they're going to do. So.
Yeah. So what have you been up to now? You just kind of, have you been doing anything, specific, or have you just kind of been more doing physical therapy? What is, your daily routine right now?
Right now, not a whole lot. I may go to the field and do my physical therapy, come back and just hang out. But
do you travel with the team, or are you just going to the home games?
No, yeah, just the home games. Right, but my big thing has been to work with the mental wellness coach that we have. We have the ability to sit down with every day, and
that's awesome.
And it's been awesome because I've struggled the past few years just with the failure of baseball, and everybody knows what that's all about. So I've been trying to really take that serious and just kind of understand why I feel a certain way when certain things happen. Because I really just want to be elite. So if I got 12 months to work on the mental aspect of the game, I'm not gonna take that for granted. So
yeah, I think probably you would probably agree with this just after hearing that the mental part of the game is probably undervalued and underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So have you been just working on trying to reset your mindset instead of looking at the negatives, when it comes to after a start or anything, trying to just keep yourself in the right mindset and having a better perspective?
Yeah, no, I mean it's for everything. Between if you make a bad pitch that results in a home run, or if you have just a crappy outing.
So have you been kind of down on have you been down on yourself when it comes to that stuff?
No, I mean when I first figured out that I needed TJ, I was very upset and feeling jealousy and this and that.
Yeah.
But
kind of why me?
Shortly after I realized you're being ridiculous. There's gonna be a lot of opportunities to grow from this. So it was. Obviously, I was upset, but
it's kind of probably you had the why me mindset.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what I thought at first, and then I was like, there's a lot of opportunity to grow from this. There's no need to be upset, this and that.
So do you meet them every day? Do you meet the mental health person every day, or?
No, it's just once a week.
Once a week.
We just sit there and chat. And
that's awesome.
Kind of gives me some skills and some practices that I just work on.
Yeah, definitely. So, just going off of that kind of the mental stuff, would you say coming out of high school, would you say your mindset was kind of I'm going to just kind of dominate the minors and go straight to the majors, and then kind of was there a learning curve process, you would say, going from high school to professional?
There's absolutely a learning curve. You go from being big fish in a small pond,
Yep.
being small fish in a big pond. So,
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lot different. And obviously, I knew that the competition would stiffen up a little bit. But
Definitely. Was it like a hard transition, though? Would you say it's more of like being on your own was hard, or would you say more on the field? Like, what like one thing would you look back on?
Yeah, I was definitely on the field. Like, it didn't have anything to do with me being out on my own. Because, I mean, that was cool and all, but I mean, even if you go to college, you know, you're gonna be on your own and whatnot.
Definitely.
So, but yeah, I mean, it was a competition. You know, I thought that to a certain extent I'd be able to power fastballs by a good amount of people.
Definitely.
But I learned day one that all those guys can hit that crap. You know, 94, 95, 96, 97. They're gonna hit that stuff.
So, would you say you were more of a dominant fastball pitcher coming in?
Being able to pinpoint that fastball and dealing with not being able to pinpoint that fastball was all what came hard.
Definitely. Now, what other pitches do you throw?
I throw a fastball, curveball, a two-seam fastball, a slider, and a changeup. And I mean, on any given day, one of those pitches could feel a lot better than the other. So,
would you say you're most comfortable with your fastball? It sounds like, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, you throw that thing every day.
Yeah, that's what most. I didn't know if you like. Is your strikeout pitch more of like your high heater, or is it more of like have you developed your slider? Or?
Generally, that's breaking ball. Probably slider or curveball. Like I said, it generally just depends on the day. Some days you feel better throwing a slider. Some days you feel better throwing a curveball.
Definitely. Now I know. Just speaking off, like started in 2015. Have you been kind of looking forward to like getting to the next step? I mean, is it more of a grind to go from like rookie to full A, kind of that, or is it more? Have you been looking at that, or have you been looking more at the major leagues? Like, have you been like looking at this process? Or have you been looking more at like the goal?
I mean, you think about the goal every day when you wake up in the morning, but
Definitely.
you know, you kind of gotta be realistic.
Like, do you have in your own head?
In most case scenarios, you need to jump up one level at a time.
Definitely. I don't know if you have like a specific time. Do you have like a specific time frame in your mind of when you want to be there?
I mean, everybody probably has a time frame that they want in their head, but realistically, you just gotta go worry about the next day, your next outing, because really that's all you can control. I mean, you can go out there and have 15 good outings, and you might not even get called up at that point. So you can't just get down on yourself because you're not getting called up, even though you've had 15 good outings. You just gotta kind of take it one day at a time, and just have faith that you'll get your opportunity.
Because I know being a first-round pick, I mean, did you feel that the expectations were higher for you than most? Just coming out of it?
Yeah, and I think that's something I struggled with a lot my first 3 years. It's just obviously starting from day one, I didn't produce at a certain level that I thought I should have.
Definitely.
So I just started getting down on myself, and that's one of the reasons why I started working with this mental skills coach, just because I thought that I had been performing at a lower expectation level than what I should be. So
now, would you say it was yourself? Like you were saying that to yourself only, or do you think was it like your teammates, was coaches? Was there anyone else saying it, Chatter, or was it just more like in your head?
Yeah, just more in my head.
More in your head.
I mean,
your own expectations.
It wasn't something I was just open about. It was just something that ate at me inside, I feel like.
Definitely. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for your time. Unless you have anything you want to say before we go, thank you for joining us.
No, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your time.
Definitely. Thanks. Good luck with the rehab. We hope to see you back on the field next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it a lot.
Have a good day.
You too.
So yeah, that's Nolan Watson. You can follow him on Twitter at Nolan_Watson20, or you can follow him on Instagram at Nolan 3 times. That's his handle. So thank you. Have a good day.
Community Talk.
Today we're going to have special guest Donovan Russo. Donovan is a multimedia creator who has written for large media outlets. He is also a musician and filmmaker. He has one of his short films coming out July 5th called The Cran. Check that out on his Instagram, DonovanRusso27, or DonovanRusso.com. He's also written for Blockbuster Entertainment, Markets, the Environment, Global Politics, and Baseball. So he's well-knowledged and well-rounded. So we're going to give him a call right now, and we're going to start discussing some baseball topics. He's a great friend of mine, and we like to communicate about baseball and should have a good discussion.
Hey, what's up, Kyle?
How's it going, Donovan? Okay, so I just mentioned your name, a little bit about you, so we're just going to jump right into it.
Sure. Are we live, or what are you doing?
We are live.
Great.
All right,
Thanks
so
for having me, Kyle. How are you?
good. How are you?
Good.
So let's just jump right into it. The All-Star Game. I'm sure you've been keeping up on that. The elections for the starters come out tomorrow night. Just wanted to hear, share. Do you have any input, or do you want to say if you're voting for any specific guy, or?
Yeah, first off, I think kudos to the Yankees and stuff. It seems like they're gonna have a bit of an all-star cast of their own at the game, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at it now, and I was doing some voting today already. And it interests me that Christian Yelich is actually number one in the NL for outfield over Cody Bellinger.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, Yelich is having a phenomenal season, and he's an MVP candidate all on his own. But I mean, Bellinger's batting over 350. I would think he'd be number one.
Definitely, and especially I think with the market out in LA, more fans are drawn out there, so that's pretty interesting. I guess Christian Yelich is drawing a bigger fan base, maybe because he was MVP.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. And I think Ronald Acuna, the fact, it annoys me that he has the vote over Charlie Blackmon, who's batting 325. I get it. Look, Acuna, you look at his stats, he's going to be an all-star. He's batting 289, 19 home runs, 51 RBIs. So he's definitely going to be there.
Absolutely,
I just personally think that Blackmon would, is the better option. But, I think the whole all-star game, I mean, look, and it's funny because I was talking about this to someone last night, but the game within itself, I mean, it'll always have that kind of historic sense to it, but it's not what it was because they took away the whole World Series.
Yes.
Thing. To me, it feels like the NFL Pro Bowl, where it's like, okay, what are we playing for? It's just another way to cash in money from consumers.
Yeah.
And I'm just not, I'm not that excited about it. I mean, I'll do the voting because it's a good way for me to engage and have somewhat, a little bit of control, a little bit of input, right? But at the same time, the game doesn't stand for anything anymore, and I think that was a really big mistake on Major League Baseball's part.
Yeah. So you're saying that there probably needs to be more of a emphasis on the part of winning the game. You're saying that's lacking.
Because it's like anything else. What's the
incentive?
Of the game? I guess if you go to the game, if you're willing to pay those outrageous prices to go and watch, sure, it's a unique fan experience, right? Because you're seeing all those all-stars and future Hall of Famers that want to field together. But from the perspective of being at home, why am I watching this? What's the point? I mean, if you're a hardcore baseball fan, sure, you're going to tune in no matter what. And even if the game is 3 or 4 hours long, which is part of the problem that Major League Baseball faces with, the length of play. But for the average fan, right, the below average fan, which is the real problem in baseball, because baseball, I mean, the average consumer for it is, I think, in their late 50s or early 60s, right? So, in terms of reaching a younger generation, it's failing in that part. And there needs to be better ways of attracting younger audiences. And I think taking away the competition of the All-Star Game is certainly not an asset to that.
Yeah. Speaking of, you were talking about incentive. I don't know if you caught the Home Run Derby. They're upping the incentive to join with the prizes. I don't know if you got to look at that or.
Is that I read that was months ago. I heard about it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something with their charities, right? The winner gets to pick a certain amount of money to go to a charity. Is it something along those lines, or am I completely off?
I'm not. I think a lot of guys do donate the money that they win, but I know the last year the total prize pool was $1 million. Bryce Harper got $250,000. This year they're upping it. The winner gets $1 million, and the total pool's $2.5 million. I think they're trying to bring more of an incentive to do that because I think you would agree with this. The home run derby has been lacking in, the amount of talent that should be there. A lot of the higher caliber players are kind of turning it down, and you're seeing a lot of these lower guys within the last few years.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're someone like a Bryce Harper or Nolan Arenado, Aaron Judge, there's no reason for you to do that game because at the end of the day, Kyle, baseball players like anything else, they are a form of intellectual property, right? They're a brand, right? And part of what makes a player so successful, if you look at someone like Michael Jordan or Derek Jeter, is they've been able to grow their brand. And part of that has been, part of what can enable that, and, enable that growth would be something like the home run derby. But, going back to your point with a lot of these bigger guys aren't doing it, for one, it messes up their swings a lot of the time. We've seen that. And number two, I mean, it puts them at risk for injury. You're, taking, quite a few amount of hacks, and that can't be good for your back and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's no reason. I mean, it's honestly better if you're a lesser known name guy because they could help you build
your brand, kind of.
Yeah. So I think though, and for me, I always find that the home run derby is much more entertaining than the All-Star game, and there's just something much more sexier about it. I don't really. I think maybe the fact that
it's more of a flair for the dramatic and.
Yeah, and it's faster paced too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's more entertaining. I think that's good though, and I'll tell you this too. The one thing that all this stuff has going for it, with any sport, is the sports betting. Which I personally, I'm not a gambler, but that's a great way for consumers to be more engaged into the sport. Whether that's basketball, baseball, football, a home run derby, an all-star game, it creates more consumer engagement, which they might tune into games more, which is better for advertising for these for these channels. So it all kind of. They're all kind of feeding off each other in a sense, right?
Yeah.
So that I will say. So there is potential. I do think you'll see ratings spike back up eventually, especially with sports betting becoming more popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the problem with Major League Baseball is just creating content that's interesting enough, especially with everything.
Fans are looking for the draw to turn on.
I mean, especially with me, when I'm working, as much as I do. It's hard for me to catch a full game at night, right? So I'll catch the last 3 or 4 innings before I go to bed. But I'm not anxious about it because I know in the morning I can turn on MLB Network and can see everything I need to see with my breakfast and morning highlights, So there's that reassurance, too, where you don't need to watch a full game because you have the highlights. And then with that, there's competition with streaming services, other shows. So, I mean, in terms of television, which at the end of the day, Major League Baseball is a form of entertainment, it is competing with several other types. And it is a tough time to compete because everybody wants your attention.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if you saw recently, too, in the news, they have 2 participants already announced, Vlad Guerrero Jr., and Carlos Santana of the Indians. Is there anyone specific you want to see, or?
I mean, I want to say something about that first. So Carlos Santana, I voted for him over Luke Voigt for the
Now,
All-Star
before
game.
you go into Carlos Santana, I just want to remind you the All-Star game is in Cleveland.
I like that he's there.
I didn't know if you were gonna say he shouldn't.
No.
Okay.
No, I voted for Carlos Santana. I think he's having a great year. But Vlad Guerrero Jr., he's one of those guys where he's just kind of getting carried by the name. I mean, is there any, I don't have his stats. Let me pull up his stats while we're talking about it. To me, Vlad Guerrero, I mean,
he is starting to play it better. I think his average last time I saw was 249. I think it's starting to creep up. It was very low. I think he's starting to get used to it, but he hasn't been that MVP all-star type player that they said he was going to be immediately, which I think.
Home runs, he's batting 255.
250. Okay.
Does that really feel like it's an all-star player, dude? Does that really feel like it's a home run derby caliber player?
No.
Obviously, it's the name. He's got, there's a marked ability to his name because of his father, and that's great. But he's one of those guys who's there's always going to be that extra spot. It's like another Bryce Harper where no matter what Bryce Harper does, or like a Tim Tebow, no matter what that guy does, whatever he does, he's always going to be in the spotlight, even if it's hitting a home run in a single leg. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Now, I completely agree with you. Vlad Guerrero should not be in the home run derby, should not be in the All-Star game this year. But mind you, his stats in the minors were substantially better than
That's the
most.
minor leagues, though.
But
I mean,
I'm saying, I think the emphasis on the name is also hurting him and making him feel as though he has to perform at such a MVP caliber right away. I think he'll settle in eventually.
I think it's a good thing that the Blue Jays are such a poor team because it puts less pressure on because there's not as much media attention. Blue Jays, they're not playing on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN compared to say the Cubs are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think kind of when he gets settled in, I think he'll do a little better. But I totally agree he should not be in it right now. But is there anyone you want to see? Just from like a fan.
I would love to see I guess Cody Bellinger. He's having such a phenomenal season. He'd be great. Yelich. But again, though, I'm hesitant for these guys to do it because I am concerned what it will do to the swing. Maybe a lot of it's psychological still, but there's nobody. There's nobody specifically where I'm like, oh, they better be there. Some of these really talented guys, Yelich, Bellinger, and Arenado. It'd be cool to see maybe Mike Trout, one of those things.
Yeah.
So maybe an underdog too, somebody who. Or like an old-fashioned power hitter, like a Nelson Cruz, you know what I mean? Like that guy, he could rake, you know what I mean? So I think it'd be nice to see him on those games. Gary Sanchez, he has a really fast swing, but again, he's a Yankee, so I don't want him to mess himself up,
I just wanted to bring up this Cincinnati Reds former player, Todd Frazier. I know it helped build his brand, obviously, in Cleveland. Cincinnati. He had this awesome home run derby and everything, but you remember he was almost on an MVP level, and then immediately after the All-Star break dropped. So I understand your hesitance of wanting, Yankee players, Cody Bell, someone who you like.
It's the same thing with Aaron Judge a few years ago. The guy, he won the home run derby, and then he didn't hit again until the ending of August.
Yeah. It seems like it does take a toll on their swing.
And part of it, Kyle, I think, because you could also argue that Bryce Harper was it last year and he won it. Well, it feels like forever ago now, but it actually helped him. He got going a little bit from the home run derby. So I really think it's psychological.
Case by case, probably basis.
Yeah, I think too. You have to consider that it gets really hot in the summer. These guys are traveling like madmen. Injuries, there's more to it than just the home run derby. But
definitely.
My whole thing is that it's not like the All-Star game, the home run derby. While it's an honor to be in it is more of a
it takes a toll on their body, all those swings too.
Yeah, is that if I'm an MLB owner, I really caution my guys, to be in that stuff because it's more of a liability than it is an asset. What does Mike Trout gain from being in the All-Star game besides it being on his resume for when he's 20 years from now when he's going into the Hall of Fame? And even then, is it really? You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, it's a good point. There should be a little caution in what you're saying. For the home run derby, I know Luke Voigt and Pete Alonso have been showing interest, and they're waiting for their invites. And if they get them, I know they'll both. Seems like they're both going to go.
That would be good for them because, again,
their brand.
Luke Voigt's somebody who's playing in the shadow of all these young
I think more of the underdog type, which you were referencing before. I think those guys would be good mold fits for that.
Yeah, even Pete Alonso. I know he's having a really good year, but
he's still flying under the radar.
It would be good for them because they're young. They're trying to get their names out there more. They're trying to build a fandom. Because at the end of the day, when you have more fans, you're going to get more money. You can sit there. You can criticize the Phillies for giving Bryce Harper as much money as they did, but didn't his jersey sell out in record time, something like that? And the guy,
they gave him $330 million. I think it was 13 years, 300. But instantly they said ticket sales went up, jersey sales. Everything went up. Merchandise. So it's.
And look at how much
they're getting a return on their investment, which I don't think people understand.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the baseball side of it plays. It's only a part of it. That business side is really where it comes down to. And Bryce Harper is a marketable fella.
Absolutely. I don't think people are realizing either the contract that he's getting, $28 million that he's going to be getting in 10 years is not going to be as daunting of a price as we see now.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah. So, just speaking off of the home run derby and kind of the home run topic, the MLB has been talking about the actual baseball there being a problem with it. You see the minor leagues this year, I don't know if you knew, has been using MLB baseballs.
Okay.
And their home runs have jumped up by 50% increase.
Yeah,
So
I did see that actually.
do you think there's a problem with the baseballs, or what do you think is going on? Because they're talking about lowering the mound, which I don't agree with because that would mess up a pitcher, kind of like routine and everything. I mean, because dropping the mound decreases velocity. So I don't think that's the answer. I think the problem is with the actual baseball. What do you think?
Honestly, Kyle, I don't think you need to fix a damn thing because I'm going to tell you something. At the end of the day, as I said before,
Home runs are marketable, yeah.
baseball is a form of entertainment, and these pitchers, they're only getting better, they're getting faster, they're getting stronger. It's getting harder to hit in Major League Baseball. It is.
Yeah.
The strikeouts and all that, and the shifts, I mean, it's killing people's careers. Look at Chris Davis from the Orioles. The guy went from a stud to a dud,
Yeah.
So I honestly think, leave the baseballs the way they are. I mean, people like seeing home runs. They like seeing a guy hit 50, 60 home runs in a season. And at the end of the day, you're still seeing, no hitters in perfect games like no tomorrow. You're still seeing them. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's one of the things that Major League Baseball shouldn't have to worry about. Instead, they should be focusing on, how they're going to protect fans from getting drilled with the baseball.
Well, that's the thing.
Dying.
These baseballs are being hit at such high alarming rates because they're talking about the actual.
You can protect that with netting, though. You don't need to.
That's where the lack of netting comes in too. You see that fan in Houston got hurt by Albert Almora Jr. of the Cubs, and it's just scary.
So that's one of the things that baseball really shouldn't worry about. If anything, Major League Baseball, what they really need to start doing is they need to start getting their players more merchandising deals, like shoes and clothing, because you don't see that. That whole industry is ruled by basketball players, and that's why basketball is it's booming as it is because kids, they love LeBron shoes, they love Steph Curry and all that, right? So if you can do that from baseball, right? Baseball players, I mean, Manny Machado, Harper, Trout, Judge, they're all
sponsored
right?
but they're not marketed as much.
I mean, that's the thing. The whole cleat industry, it needs to become much cooler. And I know there's guys. I know I used to wear Buster Posey cleats, but again, I mean, how many people really knew that Buster Posey had a cleat? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, Mike Trout, the guy, he gets compared to the likes of Mickey Mantle. I mean, the guy should be. He should
marketed.
have a clothing line. He should have a bat. He should have, a glove. He should have cleats. And it's good for baseball, because again, you're creating more relationships with the consumer. And baseball is too reliant on being America's pastime and all that stuff. But look, the game is changing. People are changing, and you need to continue evolving as a business, or you're going to get stale, get spin.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was interesting how you talked about the marketing aspect because I don't know if you remember, Marucci was a big company back a few years ago, and they were marketing like Jose Bautista, Albert Pujols, Andrew McCutchen. I don't know what happened. I mean, obviously those guys have kind of died down in their talent, but I guess they haven't tried to revamp it with some of these younger players. I guess the market is going lower. I mean, they have more statistics, so they're probably seeing that, the lack of also young kids playing baseball, maybe the market is dying.
I mean, in all fairness to Marucci, I've been out of the game for a few years now, so I haven't really been shopping for bats, so I don't really know what their market looks like. Yeah. But I believe, the research shows that less kids are playing baseball. They're favoring playing
lacrosse,
lacrosse, spring basketball leagues, so getting ready for football season. So yeah, I mean it's tough, but baseball needs to make itself. And I hate to use the word, but it needs to make itself more sexy. You know what I mean? It needs to make itself more.
They need to have more of a flair.
Yeah, and the whole. I think too, the whole celebrating after a home run. I think that's great for the sport. It shows passion. It shows that it shows
viewership would increase too. Viewership would increase. I mean, people are today still talking about Jose Bautista's bat flip against the Rangers at the Rogers Center.
It's good. I think the whole taboo with it, you can't show that you're proud of yourself if you hit a ball, 400, 500 feet. I just think that's honestly ridiculous. But at the same time, I think it's great that the pitchers retaliate and they hit people. I think it's good. I think you need the fights. I think you need the celebrations. You need the cockiness. You need it. Yeah. It creates a more fun game. Look at hockey with their fights. It gets the crowd going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, just I think too with Mike Trout. I mean, I think his popularity is undervalued because I mean, if he had a shoe, I'm sure he has a cleat, but if he had like an actual physical shoe, T-shirt, like stuff like that, I mean, you could see even just the Angels. I mean, would make millions of dollars. So I think the lack of marketing has been daunting on the sport, and I agree with you that the marketing should definitely be more focused on.
Mike Trout, it's a tough scenario because the guy, he's been to the postseason once in his career, and he's 0-3. So there is that tactic. Because he's great in the regular season, and obviously, I mean, look, he's the best player in baseball, one of the best players we've ever seen. But at the same time, he's not getting to the postseason, which also hurts him in a sense too. You know what I mean? Because that's one of the things that we judge star athletes on. Is how much they won. That's why LeBron James has gotten the slack that he got earlier on in his career. That's why we praise Tom Brady as much as we do.
Yeah. You got at the end of the day, you got to win.
Derek Jeter, the same thing.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter, I'm around people all the time who say he was a defensive liability, but at the end of the day, people don't look at him that way. He's a
3,000 hits.
He's a commercial. He's very commercialable. Because of the fact that he's gotten all those rings, all the hits. He's one of those guys, and that's the career that any of these players should aspire for. Someone even like Alex Rodriguez. I mean, the guy, although he had his troubles with the media and he was involved with some unethical stuff. I mean, he's been able to really rewrite that whole brand of his.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, he's come out with his own corporate. I mean, he's doing great things now. I just think the marketing aspect. I mean, like Derek Jeter was marketed so much. I mean, it was insane with all the products they had for him: wristbands, shoes, hats, stuff like that when he got around his 3,000th hit. So definitely, I think that Derek Jeter, I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to if you win, you'll get marketed. And I think that's why Mike Trout has been undervalued.
Right. Yeah, definitely. No, look, I mean, he's got a long career to go still. So I think that,
oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he'll win with the Angels. I mean, look,
he's signed there for the rest of his career, so he might have to.
Yeah, but we'll see. And just because a player signs there, I mean, remember Giancarlo Stanton's contract, and he's signed a year later, so it's,
So, just speaking of, I know you're a big Yankee fan, talking about the AL East race, the Yankees have had their largest lead in the AL East since 2015, currently, right now. Do you think they'll be able to hold on to it, or what do you think is going to happen with them?
I do. I think that the American League East is not that strong. I mean,
really,
Baltimore and Toronto, they're not going to go anywhere. Boston, Boston's one of those teams where they're hit or miss. They're either going to kill it or they're going to be too inconsistent. And just because of the fact that the AL East does have good teams in it, that's what why you can't make mistakes. Yeah. Tampa Bay, they're a phenomenal team, but they got to get out of Tampa Bay. I mean, or St. Petersburg, wherever they are. It's just, I know they're they may be doing the whole Montreal thing.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up a little later.
At the end of the day, they have all the potential in the world, but you need money to win. I look at teams that have won in the past. I wrote something on this a while ago, but at the end of the day, to win the big game, you need to have money. Look at the teams that have won in the past. Look at the teams that have gotten there. So the Yankees, I mean, they're playing really good without, some of their marquee guys. I mean, Severino, Stan just went back on the DL, which I don't even think Stan is as good as people think. But but at the end of the day, they're playing phenomenal baseball. However, though, I think that in order to get to the the World Series, the Astros are their biggest enemy. I'm not threatened by the Twins.
I need to see the Twins do it before I believe it, kind of thing.
The Twins are one of those teams where, I mean, again, like the Rays, they have all the potential in the world, but they don't have that extra payroll, Yeah. So it really comes down to the Astros, and right now I see the Astros beat the Yankees because they have more pitching. Verlander and Cole, I mean, and I was saying last night, you take Verlander away from the Astros, they're still going to win 90 games, I think.
I mean, they got Garrett Cole,
But Verlander makes him that World Series team. You know what I mean? He's the extra bump, and the Yankees don't have that. They'll win the division. They'll get to the ALCS, most likely. Or you know what I mean?
Definitely.
But in order to get past the Astros, you need that pitching. And I know Severino, maybe he'll come back in July. But I think you even need a little bit more than that. And maybe it's too much, too greedy to just Max Scherzer. But you need somebody who could really put that team behind their back and kind of give them that, that playoff wave to ride on. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, speaking of the Twins, I mean, they right now, their top pitchers, Jose Barrios, I mean, he was phenomenal last year, too, so you can't take anything away from him. But then you look at their 2 and 3, you got Jake Odorizzi and you got Martin Perez, who are both having career years that are kind of, jump out of the pages type stats for them. And it's kind of like, when is reality going to set in? They're going to start going down. So I see your point with Minnesota that I want to kind of see them do it before I believe it. And then when it talks about Tampa Bay, I mean, I think you can only go so far without starting pitching. I mean, at the end of the day, they got these relievers coming in every day or every other day. I mean, sooner or later, there's going to be a toll on their pitch count. And eventually, like you said with Houston, you need high-end starting pitching. And I don't think Tampa Bay can do it either. But you think maybe Boston can give the Yankees a push? Or I think that right now they're about 9 games out.
Yeah, so the Red Sox are 44 and 38, 9 games out.
Yeah.
I mean, look, anything's possible. Baseball is one of those sports where you could be the worst team one week and the next week. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if the Red Sox go on a 10-game win streak and they'll be in first place, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they got a month to figure it out before the trade deadline. They got to know which direction they're going in.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think they're a team that's going to sell. I mean, that would make no sense because they're right there. I mean, you come back next year.
But right, I think you would probably agree. They need to get a reliever, though, because they have 4 blown saves in the 9th inning, which I think it's double the next highest team. So, I mean,
they should have brought back
Kimbrel. Yep, definitely.
So,
just speaking of the last topic we'll cover today, Donovan, if that's all right with you. We're going to talk about Tampa Bay, and I don't know if you caught the last podcast. We had guest Kenny Rosenberg. It was a treat to have him. He's in the Tampa Bay's organization, actually, Tampa Bay Rays, and we talked about the idea of Montreal, and he didn't think it was possible just because of the Tampa Bay organization being signed in St. Petersburg. I didn't know this fact either. He said they're signed with the mayor, have a contract with them until 2027, which was very crazy to me that they signed for that long. And then also, he doesn't think, all these players can afford a house in the offseason, renting or buying a house for the season in Tampa, and renting or buying in Montreal. So I think, in his opinion, and I'm going to have to say in my opinion, I don't think it's possible, but just because of the money that would go involved into it from the players' aspect, and the fact that they're signed that long. Do you have any? Do you want to have any saying?
I think that the Rays, for one, the demographics, within St. Petersburg are so terrible. It's people don't want to go to the games because they're old.
Oh no, I think I agree with you that they need to get out of Tampa. I just don't think it'll happen.
I agree with you. You brought up some really good points with Montreal with terms of renting space and all that. At the end of the day, the only way the Rays will ever win, I think, honestly, is if they're bought out. They're bought by some rich billionaires who could buy out that stupid contract and they go somewhere interesting like Vegas or
I was gonna say I think they should stay in the United States too, because even you look at the Montreal Expos. I mean, it didn't work out for them either. They don't exist anymore. I mean, so why would Montreal doesn't seem like a good fit for me.
And then if you are gonna go out of the country, go somewhere marketable. A place like Mexico.
Yeah.
Because again, that's that people vacation there. It's a touristy area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just speaking of that, like, I know this wouldn't happen, but like London, they're trying to get popularity.
No, I was thinking that too. That's the thing.
Boston and New York. I mean, that would be too hard with the traveling and everything. But Montreal is close.
Money cares,
Yeah. I think, but definitely, I think Tampa should stay in the U.S. if they're gonna do that. Try to stay somewhere marketable, like Las Vegas, kind of somewhere like that. But definitely, I don't think it'll happen though.
And, if they do want to stay in St. Petersburg.
I don't think they want to, though, which is the problem also.
Well, of course they don't, because it's terrible. But I'm saying, though, if they're forced to, bring in more investors, you need more money.
They need money, yep.
If you're making more money's coming into that team, you're getting more stars. At the end of the day, they don't really have any stars in the team. That's part of the problem, too. They're very talented, but they don't have anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you look at Evan Longoria. I don't know if you remember when he first came up. I mean, within the first month, I actually think it was in the first week or two, I mean, they signed into a 6-year contract that was team friendly just because they knew how good he was going to be and they knew they couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
So they had to do it definitely.
Look, I think that in that scenario, you bring in more investors, you get more money, you sign more stars.
At the end of the day, you need more money.
More members of the audience. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, even like the A's when they made the playoffs a few times in the past few years. Tampa Bay made it to the World Series in 2008. I mean, but you need that extra piece like Houston does to win it, which I think they're lacking.
And that's the thing too. I mean, Oakland, that's another one of those teams. They can get there, but they're not going to close because you're competing against these big payroll teams. And that's the thing. And at that point, you feel bad for the city. It's like poor Oakland. But at the end of the day, the money's not coming in. You got to get out of there because this is the business.
Yeah.
It's
at the end of the day, it's a business.
It's not financially viable anymore to be there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. My picks right now for the best teams in the American League are the Yankees and the Astros. And in the National League, it is, definitely the Dodgers. Dodgers number one, and then the Braves. I got to say, I think the Keuchel signing is going to help them. I know he had a rough.
I'm excited to see him.
Get the boost.
Definitely, yeah. All right.
I think we could be looking though at a Yankee-Dodger World Series right now.
That'd be very interesting.
Most likely an Astros-Dodgers
rematch.
We can see that again. As of right now, unless the Yankees can get that piece, and at this point, I'm going to say the Astros win it again. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know enough about the Dodgers. I need to research them more.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thanks for being on. I mentioned a little bit about you in the background before you got on the phone. I mentioned the Crayons coming out July 5th. I told them to go to your Instagram, Donovan Russo 27 or DonovanRusso.com. Do you have you want to add anything else or?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Donovan X Russo. You can see all my my publications, and we got my first short film, me and Sebastian Russo, The Crayon. Kyle makes a small appearance in it. So it'll be fun, and thanks for having me on, Kyle. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being on. All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks for listening, everybody. All right, bye.
All right, well, you're here first with Donovan. Thanks for tuning in to the Competitor Talk. Have a good night.